Okay, guys, I believe we are live recording.
Excellent. Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Mike, your co-host for Saturday Morning Multifamily Unplugged, your raw, unscripted radio, where you never know what's going to happen. You know, today we got a guest, and I'm sure that Carl's going to wind up in a rabbit hole later this morning trying to figure out how to get out. I'm at the Bears game this morning. It's amazing to me how this landscape down here has changed. I got a buddy who said, hey, listen, I got tickets for the Score box. So why don't you come to the Bears game with me? And there's a few guys that I know from over the last few years that are going to be here. So it's going to be kind of an exciting morning. So Carl, I'm not going to be on very long. I'm going to be on for a few minutes. Then I'll get up, walk away, and I'm going to listen to you guys. But let me just remind everybody, please remember to like us and love us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever you find your best social media material, and on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel, please. And if you need anything real estate, multifamily, don't hesitate to reach out to either one of us. You know that we're always willing to network and help you grow. And remember, coming up in September 9th, 10th, and 11th, I'm doing a live 3-day event in Schaumburg at the Schaumburg Marriott. If you can't make the event live, it will be streamed. So you can register at my website, mycoreintentions.com, but that's going to be a 3-day deep dive into multifamily. We're going to talk specifically about exit planning and due diligence and underwriting. If you come, you're going to get a copy of my institutional grade underwriting tool. And we are going to really cover some things at a high level. We're going to talk about raising private equity and structuring good syndication deals. So I know that this event will provide a lot of information for people. So no auxiliary people, just me and deep multifamily, a deep dive into multifamily. So glad everybody's here this morning. Carl, why don't you go ahead and introduce our guests? And I'm just going to kind of take a back seat here for a bit.
Yeah, Mike, perfect. And you might want to mute because, okay, there you go, because you have the drum. So yeah, I'm excited about our guest this morning. I've known this individual for quite some time. We've done some business together. I'm excited about talking about short-term rentals because I know that that's part of her business, but she's also got a contracting business, I think a real estate business, and she's a deal maker. So I want to introduce Lori Wyatt. Lori, welcome to the show. And
welcome.
And I'm excited to have a conversation with you today.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit, I mean, I know you and I know each other, but why don't you tell our audience just a little bit about, who you are, what you're up to these days, and eventually how they can get in touch with you if they want to reach out to you.
Okay. So I started out as a real estate broker. So I've been doing that for a very long time, early 90s, actually. And that was kind of where I got my start. And somewhere in the middle of that, I had a buddy that asked me to do a flip because he needed money. So that's how I got my start. I put money in, and then he was having a hard time finishing it by himself. So I ended up jumping in, and he taught me how to do a lot of the work, the actual, construction work, like laying tile and stuff like that. So that was a little crazy, but that was my first flip ever. I think I was 20, and then focused on brokerage for a while. Didn't get into any flips until a little later, but I've done over 30 with my partner and I, and all pre-1900, historic, old. A lot of the building stock here is old, so that's kind of what we've done. And then I had a house that I was moving out of, but I didn't want to sell because I was attached to it. And someone else said, hey, you should Airbnb this thing. And at the time, I wasn't familiar. I didn't even know what they were talking about.
Right.
And they were doing it, and they showed me their calendar and how booked they were. And I was kind of blown away. And where we started was in Bronzeville, and there was a lot of pent up demand because the University of Chicago is close by. The convention center is close by. So we started, and the house is pretty big. So we started getting these sales teams, and it really, great run. And we still have that one. And we expanded. COVID kind of took a little bit of the wind out of our sails, but still doing Airbnb in Bronzeville. So that's in a nutshell, it's our business.
Yeah, and Bronzeville, for those, because we have people from all over, that's a suburb, or not a suburb, but an area of Chicago. down south of the main loop. So was your first one Michigan or your first one Oakwood? Because I know you've got two down there.
Definitely first one was Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
we bought a row house that we still own, but that we put a long-term tenant in that. And then I have Oakwood. So I've got 3. We're down to 3 now.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, and Michigan's a gorgeous house. I know you host parties there from time to time. And
Yeah.
how many square feet? And that's an old Burnham. That's a Burnham designed house, right? Isn't that a
Michigan Avenue is not actually 442 Oakwood is the Burnham home. So you got So Michigan, I haven't been able to locate who the architect was on that. So if there's any history or historic buffs that can give me any tips, because when it was built, it was actually part of Hyde Park, which was at the time was a suburb, and it didn't annex until after the house was built. So there aren't any records in the city of Chicago, and I don't know how to access Hyde Park stuff. So
right? That's really cool, and it's got a big coach house too. How big is the coach house?
The coach house at Michigan or Oakwood, they both have coach houses.
At Michigan.
Oh yeah, it's about 2,400 square feet. So we've got like 3 small 1 bedrooms in there. It's a nice little setup.
Yeah, it's a great setup. And so, I mean, and you guys have done a wonderful job there. I mean, I've been there several times, and it's I mean, the coach house itself is like a house. I mean, that's for people listening. This is one of those grand. I mean, it's really a big house, like a it's a mansion. I mean, and at the time when they were building houses down there, there are a lot of wealthy people down there from a variety of different ways. When was that built? Is it over 100 years old?
Yeah. So both houses were built. I think Michigan was built in 1886 and Oakwood was built in like 1889. So late 1800s.
Yeah.
And just the craftsmanship and it's just all the woodwork and everything. You just can't duplicate any of that today. I love it.
Yeah, 100%. So, and now but you guys also have a general contracting business too, or do I not have that correct?
No, that's right. We have that. That's kind of more my partner Derek's. That's kind of his, main thing. But we're doing a 4-unit now, and I'm helping the client because it's for a client, not for herself this time. I'm helping her do selections and kind of overall design concepts, things like that.
Yeah,
so I'm definitely very involved. I'm just not running the day to day.
Yeah, and I know because I've worked with you. You are very hands-on and very involved, and you're one of those people that can wear a variety of different hats. I mean, you can walk into bankers and talk to them, or realtors, or you can walk into a job site and talk to contractors, which is that's from years of experience, which is that's a valuable thing to be able to do. So I want to talk to you about Airbnb because there's a gentleman that is not on the show today, but I know him. And he mentioned something that he wants to do, and it's something that I want to do as well. I have 3 kids, right? My kids are teenagers.
I know your kids.
I know, right? Exactly. So they're getting older, and I'm thinking is like, how am I going to set them up? Like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So the idea I've been bouncing around in my head is, let's see about buying a couple houses, like maybe one in North or South Carolina, maybe one in the Ozarks, maybe one in Florida that are that we're not going to live in as our primary, but, we can use as short-term rentals, Airbnb, and I can put them in my kid's name or the trust that we set up for the kids. And there are also places we can go visit. So they're in places that we'd like to be, you know what I mean? And I know most of your stuff is in Chicago or local.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to hear what you think about that idea, and if you think it's practical or not practical, or what the challenges would be.
I love the idea. I think it's a great idea. I've kicked it around myself, honestly. I think I'd love to have one, outside of Nashville. That's kind of where I want to land at some point. But no, it's a fantastic idea. It's going to really come down to having a good manager like in that area. And that's one thing, we've struggled with a little bit is we self-manage. We've tried doing had some people come in and kind of assist, but you really have got to find the right person. And that's just the key. So if you can get that person that's going to really take care of your place like it's their own, or professional management comes in, does a great job that you get recommendations on. And I mean, it can work great. So I would encourage you to do it for sure. The other thing is there's a website that you can go on and check, as far as like different locations and how they're doing. It's like a metrics website. It's called AirDNA. It is a subscription, but you can literally plug in different metros and it'll tell you like how many are already there. What's the average price to purchase a vacation home? How much can you earn on average based on the number of bedrooms and bathrooms? So it's a lot of really great information, and it's nationwide.
And what was it? Airbnb?
No, Air DNA, like the DNA, you know, your DNA.
Oh,
Air
DNA, yeah.
Yeah.
.com?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I mean, obviously that would be one of the big challenges is, you know, how am I going to manage this thing, right?
Right.
So that's really cool. And then I was going to actually ask you, like, does Airbnb offer any of those metrics, or you know, if you and how does that work? I don't even know how. Are you a member of Airbnb, or I mean, or are you just like a property provider, or I don't even know how it works.
Well, you have a profile, and they have to, you know, you go on, you put your picture, and you have to upload identification, so they verify you as a person to make sure, you know, you are who you say you are. And then once you have a profile, then you can say, hey, I'd like to add a property, or I'd like to book a property. And then you kind of go from there, and you can have multiple ones. And now they're doing something called teams because, you know, a lot of people are doing, it's like, it's me and Derek, or it's me and someone else managing. So you can actually set it up so that you've got a team, so that for some reason a guest calls you and you're not available, they can also reach out to someone else on the team, which is awesome because we couldn't do that before. And so people were trying to reach out to someone, and we had the other numbers listed, but they were kind of buried. Now it's like very clear. It's nice how it's set up now.
Yeah, that's right. And was that airdnametrics.com or just airdna.com?
I thought it was airdna.com, but I haven't been on there in a while. So did you just do it and find AirDNA metrics?
No, I'm just putting it in the chat. So
I got it. It's just, I believe it's airdna.com, but you're exactly right. It's Airbnb metrics. And it's an invaluable tool. I mean, it just gives you everything you need. Because, you know, we thought about doing one in a certain location, and then we went on there and it was super saturated. And that's one thing, if I was, you know, handing out advice, I would say, just make sure wherever you're going to go that it's not already inundated with, the market's not already inundated with Airbnbs.
Right.
It's crazy. It drives the prices down. It's, you know, super competitive, and
it's
tough to get a guess.
Yeah.
Can I jump in real quick?
Sure. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks. Hey, Lori, great stuff. So tell me what your preference is, long-term or short-term, and why?
Ooh, that's a tricky question. I like short-term. Again, if you can get the management piece of it down, I like short-term because, I mean, you meet a lot of really neat people. That part of it's really fun. You can make more money. And the other thing is you do have more control of your property. Like, so for example, people are coming and going every few days. So if there's a maintenance issue, or somebody nicks the wall, or a doorknob falls off, or something crazy happens, you're in there, you're on it, it's fixed. You know, I've had long-term tenants that have been in for a couple of years, and they leave, and you're like, what? The property doesn't even look like the same. Oh,
yeah.
You're walking through like,
been there, done that. That's for sure.
You know, where am I? I'm not in Kansas anymore. It's just like, it's terrible. So I've lived enough of those moments where I really like the idea of being able to go in and, you know, touch up, you know, just fix things as you go. You know, people have parties and there's a mess maybe, but you're never walking into an absolute disaster zone. So I like it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We experienced that for sure. I mean, we'd come in a year later, you know, and it was like the floor was torn up. The stove was, you know, like the fridge, you literally had to throw the fridge away. The stove was like caked with grease and stuff. And you're like, oh my God, you know, or a toilet's been leaking, you know, and I'm paying the water bill. I'm like, why didn't you call us? I mean, this toilet's been running for months, you know, and yeah. So that's interesting. I heard a statistic that says if you can average 20 to 22 days a month, that's a good number, that you're gonna break even and do okay.
I think you do better than break even at 22 days a month. You should do better than break even.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And it really depends on your price point and all that kind of stuff. Now, do you limit the types of people? Because I know your properties are really big. I mean, I've been to parties at your house that you guys have thrown. I think we went to a Christmas party. There were probably like 200 people there. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
easy. You might not want to go down that road this morning.
Carl,
might wanna take it easy.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
We actually had kind
No,
of
I
a
mean-
impromptu party at our house last night. It seems to follow me where I go, these parties. I don't know.
Oops. Whoops.
But yeah, so that's a great question. During COVID, that was a huge sort of a problem. You know, it's not that we don't allow events, but you know, we have neighbors and we have to be, actually, you know, our neighbors, and they're great guys, but they're not going to appreciate us, you know, having the DJ pumping at 3 a.m. with people out on the terrace, and you know, you have that. So I would say pre-COVID, our guests were graduations and weddings for those types of, and then the McCormick Place people. And then when COVID happened, we were getting a lot more partiers. And so we've actually come right out and said, because you don't get to see the people's phone number until after they book. And we've said, if you have a local number, expect a call from us. And we really kind of read them the riot act, if you will, because, you know, obviously there's huge liability there. And we have had some instances where people have had big parties. And we've gotten a citation from the city of Chicago. It was absolutely crazy. And we'd given them the talk. We'd gone in and said, okay, it was a bunch of girls. And we said, okay, ladies, no parties. Oh no, we're not having a party. You know, everybody tells you what you want to hear. And,
Right.
And then apparently it was an all night crazy, you know, till 6 a.m. and then somebody was arrested at the house. So we got a fat little ticket for that, and we had to address it. So there is some big liability there, and you have to be extraordinarily careful.
Yeah, I've never used an Airbnb. I've done bed and breakfast overseas just years ago, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, I'm sure I don't even have a profile, you know, but are you selective? I mean, do you see who the potential guests are ahead of time, or is that it's kind of, I know, because politically you can get yourself into trouble, you know, not being politically correct, right? However, from my perspective, it's kind of like, I'm like, well, it's my house, it's my store, I should be able to rent. But how does that play out?
Well, I mean, to be totally candid, they used to have Airbnb when we started had photos of everyone. And I think somewhere down the road, at some point they were accused of profiling, or it was stated, or I don't know if somebody filed a lawsuit. I'm not sure what happened, but there was a shift to now you don't see anybody's profile picture. You don't see anyone's phone number, you know, but you know, you can tell by the line of questioning what their intentions are. It doesn't even, and for us, we literally don't care. We don't care, you know, we don't care who it is. We just want to know that you're going to be respectful of the house. That's all.
Right, of course.
So the answer is, you know, we are more strict with people that are local than anything. But if you're like traveling from somewhere else, you know, most of those people are not coming here to throw crazy parties.
Right. So how long have you been with Airbnb?
2015. And can I tell you the 2-second funny story? How what happened?
Sure.
How I got into it? So I had
Yeah.
a long-term tenant, and she was a great tenant, paying rent for about 18 months, and then she lost her job. So, you know, now I would just head straight to eviction. Like I'd cut to the chase. I wouldn't even fool around. But I was saying, oh, well, are you going to get another contract? And she thought she was going to get another job. Didn't happen. So I was telling her she had to leave, and she was very angry about that. So on her way out the door, this is now mid-December, she shuts the heat off. I've told you this story, Carl. I know I have.
Yeah. You told me the story.
Yeah. And every radiator pipe in the whole house exploded. And I wasn't hearing from, you know, because I'd been texting her and she kept saying, don't you come here. I have rights. You can't just come to my house. And I said, you have to let me know when you're leaving. Of course she didn't. So it hadn't even been a long period of time, but we had a cold snap. And by the time I got there, it was too late. And she had literally shut the heat off. And it was about $110,000 in damage. So when Mike was asking me, what do I prefer? I definitely prefer short-term, because like I said, you can go in your house and make sure all is well, and be more hands-on. But yeah, it was a brutal process. It took a year to completely get the house back up to par. And that's when my neighbor, who was doing a traditional B&B across the street from me, approached me and said, well, what are you going to do with the house? Maybe I'll think about renting it. And ultimately he didn't, but he kind of planted the seed. And then that's when actually Derek suggested we go on Airbnb. So.
Wow, that's cool. And you had some, I mean, you had some bumps, some learning. There's some learning curves there, right?
Oh my gosh. Yes. We had a lot of bumps because we had no idea what we were doing in the beginning. We just, I had some extra furniture that I'd used laying around like in the basement. And so we just like dragged out what we could find and bought a couple of pieces. So it was, nothing great. And so the first few reviews, people were like, "Oh my God, what is this? A frat house?" And so, of course, we ran out and upgraded quickly, and we realized that it was going to be a real business too, because we just thought when I first started, I was like, "Oh God, if I could just pay my mortgage," and ultimately we're like, "Whoa, this is real, and this is real money, and there's real demand," and so we have to really step up our game. And so we got our act together really quickly because, bad reviews are no fun. And if you get enough of them, they'll pull you down.
Airbnb, right.
Like you'll just be gone.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. And I've been to your place. I know you go to auction houses. You furnish the places really nicely. I think you have a piano in one of them and you've got some really great paintings and stuff. So that's key, right?
Yeah, it is key. And, you have to learn to find deals because, people do, unfortunately, over time, your stuff gets worn. So you can't really buy like new, nice, expensive things and expect that it's going to stay that way, that everything's going to stay new and nice. So there's a place there's a couple hotel liquidation centers that have been incredible because they have really nice things for very cheap.
Yeah, that's great. And those are probably all over the country. People in, like you said, Nashville or something could probably find some bargain place.
I would think so. I mean, the one that I go to is on the west side. It's called Fort Pitt, which is kind of a crazy name, but I mean, it's a big warehouse and it's full. And the stuff, like I said, it's high quality. Some of it's dinged up, so you have to really look. But all of it's really. I mean, I got these brown velvet couches that had to have been $3,000 couches. I got them for $300 a piece, and they're gorgeous. So that's the kind of thing. And they feel luxe and, they look nice. So, you get a little creative. I'm always on the hunt.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, I think you bring up a couple good points. You've got to use your imagination, right? You've got to think outside the box, right? You've got to get creative, and treat it like a business. I mean, it's if you're, and that's true with anything. I don't care if you're starting a coffee shop or whatever. If you treat it like a hobby, it's gonna end up being like a hobby. If you treat it like a business, it will operate like a business. So I think that's important. And that's one of the things that I'm looking at too. Do I want to start another business? And hopefully when my kids are starting to get a little bit older, and my oldest daughter's 17, she is interested in real estate because she's been around it. Her mom is in real estate, my ex-wife, and I'm in real estate. So she actually has a little bit. I catch her sometimes watching the real estate shows on TV. It's kind of funny,
Yeah.
And of course I tell her, that's not real. You just don't you don't turn a house over in half an hour and make $90,000. But my point is that you've got to treat it like a business.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I think for me, like now we only use Airbnb like when I travel. I mean, unless it's just me, then I'll go get a hotel. But if I'm traveling with my family, it's like the only way to go, because if you're in a regular hotel, you're looking at having to eat out 3 times a day plus snacks, and it gets exorbitantly expensive, and it's just nice to have a kitchen where you can just, maybe you have breakfast at home, maybe eat out in the evening, but it's just incredibly more convenient and cost saving as well.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. And your family is a little bit bigger than mine, but there's, when we travel, there's 5 of us, and there's, 3 girls and 2 boys. So, we're definitely at least two hotel rooms.
Yeah.
And you're talking, $300 to $600 a night just for hotels.
Yeah.
And then you throw, yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. A weekend will cost you a couple grand, where, if you can rent a house for $1,000, you're saving $1,000. So.
Right.
Now, I know you're an Airbnb person, so I'm just going to ask this question very delicately. And if you don't want to answer, I understand. But there are some other services out there. I've seen some ads for some other ones that claim to be higher end. If you're looking for higher end homes, can we go down that path, or would you prefer not to?
Well, so we're on We are on VRBO as well, and that's a great site. And I know there's like Hostly and all these like booking aggregators. Booking.com I found confusing. My neighbor across the street though, he was exclusive on there. He loved that site. So I think it's a matter of personal preference to some extent. And I have noticed the clientele on VRBO is a little bit different than the Airbnb client. And I'm not really sure why that is, but it tends to skew a little, VRBO tends to skew a little bit older and like maybe more families and bigger groups.
Yeah.
So, I think it just depends on what you like and what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
Booking.com is more of a hotel aggregator. So if your place is big like ours, I don't know that it's a good fit.
Yeah. Well, the place, I would say this is,
Jump in real quick. Hey, thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, Lori, question with where the city's at right now with the new COVID restrictions again and how things are kind of looming in the air. Where do you see the short-term rental market going again? And then kind of a second part of that question is long-term, where do you see that rental market going?
Oh yeah, great question. So yeah, we're a little on pins and needles with the new restrictions and the Delta variant. We did get some cancellations for September. I mean, we only have the one, so, and I've owned it so long, it doesn't take a lot of days for us to cover our expenses. So I'm not entirely like freaking out. Plus we have the coach house that covers a lot of our expenses as well. So we can kind of like dig in our heels and just hang in there. But bookings were on their way up and, coming back in a really strong way. And then I am a little nervous that this new variant is going to put the damper on it again for the fall. And hopefully by next spring we'll be, getting back to normal. That's my hope. And then on the regulatory side, yeah, I don't want to be, Chicago's tough. We've run into a lot of issues where so Airbnb was an aggregator, like you would send all your information into Airbnb and then they would send it off to the city. And we had a woman on our block that just didn't want Airbnb. So she kept sending in complaints, and the city's records are not always accurate, of course. And so they would fine us. And then they'd mail the ticket or whatever to our Airbnb address, which, the cleaning people would, I guess, throw it away. So we got some sort of like default fines, and had we been able to fight them, they weren't even appropriate. They weren't even fines that we should have gotten. But the way the city was doing it, it was like Airbnb was the intermediary, but they didn't want to go after Airbnb, so they were kind of pinning all the blame on the host. So it's really unfortunate the way it's set up. And honestly, I won't do another Airbnb in Chicago for that reason. It's just too highly regulated, and they're not Airbnb friendly, and they just it feels like they don't want them. And I don't understand it because it drives so many tourist dollars, especially where we are in Bronzeville, where you're not getting a lot of tourists in the first place. And there's restaurants, that, probably love, like the guy across the street from us at Chicken and Waffles loves us because, when people are here, they get a lot of business. So I guess I don't really understand that mentality, because I feel like there's enough tourist business to go around, but the city is not Airbnb friendly here at all, like not even a little.
Well, that actually really doesn't surprise me. The city's not really friendly about a lot of things.
No,
I'm at the Bears game, right? And they have this new mask mandate that went into place yesterday, and I bet 5% of the people have a mask on. So, that kind of, I think that just kind of, those types of things kind of go to show you, like, people think about all of this whole COVID thing and everything going on. And I don't want to go down that road, but, it's just kind of interesting. And some of the things I've been seeing just about real estate in general, like I read a report yesterday that came out from Marcus Millichap. The bottom line of it was that rents have been at 97% collected on a monthly basis for the last 6 months, and that that the rental market is up 32% across the board across the country. So, as much as we thought it was going to be harmful, it's really helped. I'm still bullish that multifamily right now is a place to be. And in multifamily, we're doing a deal in Tampa. We're close to the beach. We're going to take a few of those properties and we're going to Airbnb them. So, that's gonna be a real nice deal too. So I think there's all kinds of opportunity in it.
Oh yeah, I read something that the Airbnb bookings were up 300% year over year. So it was, like I said, it was coming back strong, and I hope it continues to go in that direction because it was great. And the other thing is a lot of people got out of it during COVID, so your competition's thinned out. The herd has been thinned, so that's a good thing too. It's a great time to get into it, I feel like, because there is a huge opportunity and people are dying to travel.
Hey, Mike, you're really bad. Mike, your sound is really bad, buddy. There's tons of background.
Yeah. One other comment I want to make on the regulatory thing. So we're getting into another sort of what I call a disruptive technology business also, which we can talk about on another episode, but we're dealing with a company that is, going everywhere in the United States. And they were telling us that Chicago is the most regulated city in the nation. And they're dealing with all the major metros, and we are by far the most regulated. There's the most rules. So it's not just in our imaginations, Mike, it's real. And it's unfortunate because I do feel like it stifles business here a little bit on the tourist side anyway.
Yeah. Well, so let's switch gears. So back to my idea, because it's all about me, Lori. It's all about me. But what I was thinking was, looking at, like buying, single family homes, 2 to 3 bedroom, 2 bath,
Yep.
and kind of having a theme, you know what I mean? Like, and really, really, looking to rent to families, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, like young families that might have 2 or 3 kids, so there'd be a boys' room, a girls' room, a boys' theme, a girls' theme, and a parents' room, you know what I mean? And then obviously location is always a key, but I really like this air DNA because I could do some research. I love Nashville, I love the Ozarks, I love North Carolina, Florida, of course, is Florida, but my question, what's that?
Which is great. We just went to Montana. That was fun. Montana.
Yeah, but for me, Montana, I mean, just personally, I want this to be like a 2 or 3 hour flight away or like a 4 or 5 hour drive away.
Yeah, Montana.
You know what I mean? So we can use it too, you know what I mean?
Got it.
But that's just me personally. And then the other question I had was, what was the other question I had? Winter. So the other thing I was thinking was, how do you manage winter in Chicago? Because, summers in Chicago are awesome. You know what I mean? So, ideally, if you could drive traffic or drive, short-term tenants year round, you just have potential more months to collect money. But how do you deal with that?
So it's interesting because January and February are really just dead. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around that. It's dead. So we kind of try to use those as like our maintenance months. But like November, you always get Thanksgiving shoppers and a family that wants to have Thanksgiving. So we do get like November stays pretty full, at least on the weekends. And then for the week of Thanksgiving. So that builds us up. And then Christmas, same Christmas shoppers, Christmas gatherings, that kind of thing for families. And then, like I said, January, February is just dead. Like you might get a handful of days for some random thing, but for the most part, it's dead. So you really make all your money. And then March starts to pick up. And then of course, April, you get spring breakers. And then May, you're back into full swing again. So, you do get that 2-month lull that you just have to manage your money and make sure you got enough to cover yourself. Which in the summertime when you're making hay, you just got to make sure you set some aside. But it is definitely a seasonal business for sure.
Yeah, if you're in Chicago. And that's why I was thinking, Florida is pretty much kind of year round, I mean, conversely, a lot of people don't go to Florida in August and July because it's humid and,
Yeah, it's brutal.
That type of thing. So trying to find, for me, balancing that distance, because, part of my model is I want to be able to use this for ourselves. And if we're based in Chicago, and I thought about, well, even, there's some really nice places up the, Wisconsin and up the Michigan shoreline, you know what I mean? However, who's going to go to those places in the winter? I mean, who's going to go to like Grand Haven or, the Dells in the winter? And I haven't done any research, but that's the thing that I'm kind of thinking. I want to kind of go like south and east,
I was thinking about Miller Beach.
Where?
right over the border in Indiana. It's a Gary mailing address, but it is actually a little beach town right
Yeah.
over the border. It's great. And you can find little houses there. And, I've gone there on vacation. It's a nice little spot. Michigan City's great. Any
Yeah.
of the towns along the coast there.
Yeah.
And-
Well, and you get Wisconsin too. I mean, and you could get good deals over there. My fear is, and the nice thing about it is they're close enough. You can go there for the weekend. You can go there like
That's right.
3 hours. You're there, which is great.
Well, and I would
my-
say, oh, sorry to cut you off.
I was
Go
just gonna say, my fear is, what do you do in the winter? I mean, are you going to get people in the winter?
Well, so one of the things we talked about if we did one over there is adding a hot tub and adding some other amenities that might be appealing for like the fall, or, doing encouraging people to come do like a fall color tour or things like that. So you have to get a little creative, but I think the hot tub's a big deal because, you're not going to get a private hot tub if you go rent a hotel. And, sometimes people are not necessarily looking for, to go do things. Like for us, sometimes I just want to put my family somewhere else and like lock them in the house and have time with them.
Yeah.
It's really not about even where we are. We can be in the cold, we can be in the hot, we can, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just being under one roof and having a place to hang out and play games. And, my kids always, now we had one and we went to North Carolina and there was a hot tub, and now they're like, we gotta have a hot tub. And I mean, they used the heck out of that thing. They loved it. So, maybe think about adding, and we always have like bags games and stuff like that. So maybe just having a lot of amenities, I think might be a good offset for that concern.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting that you're not only a provider, you're a consumer too, that you go to other places. I'm sure, and I know you and Derek, I'm sure you guys have your eyes open and you're seeing, oh, this is cool, or, whatever. So that's, that's
creative things. It's really cool to see, I love it. I love seeing what other people do and how they set their places up. And, like you said, the theme thing, like if you're a beach place, they have beachy decor and stuff like that. Or if you're in the mountains, they have more Western decor. It's cool. Like we stayed at a log cabin and it was in the mountains of North Carolina. And it was all kind of that log cabin rustic feel. And I love that. So I think people are drawn to, if you go on Airbnb, some of the things that because I do like surfing on there. People love to stay in yurts. People love to stay in, glamping is huge right now. So there's all these like creative things, the tiny houses. People love those because it's unique. It's different. You can say, hey, it's like a bucket list thing. I stayed in a tiny house. I stayed in a yurt. If you look at the most popular Airbnbs, like some of them are tree houses. And they're these funky little things that, are
really,
yeah.
What do you call urns? What
are off the ground, but they're tree houses, but they're really cool. And it's like for two people. And there's some really creative stuff. You got to surf on there, Carl, because there's some people do, I mean, unbelievable. There's a shell house over, it's in Europe, but it's literally looks like a shell. There's a hobbit house that looks like it's like built into the side of the, if I'm going to do another Airbnb, I'm going to do something really creative like that. I want to do a yurt or a canoe house or a container house or a tree house or, a hobbit house or something crazy, because people love that stuff. They love.
Do they pay more for it? I mean,
yeah. And it's more, I mean, there's some of these are small spaces, so you can only get so much, but more importantly, they're more popular. You look at their calendars, they're just booked infinitum. They're just booked solid.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. There was a woman, we went to like an Airbnb meetup, and there was a woman we were talking to. She was in Evanston, and she literally put a yurt in her backyard.
I don't even know what that is. What is it?
It's a fancy tent, kind of. It's literally and there's people in Michigan that they actually build these things, these yurts. And she was, just packed. Because, she was close to the games. It was a unique thing. It was fun. It was different. People loved it. They ate it up with a spoon.
What was it, in her backyard?
In her backyard. I don't even know how she got away with that in the city of Evanston, but yeah, she did it. She did a yurt in her backyard. And again, so that's one thing to think about too. If you're concerned about, popularity or whatever, if you can kind of put yourself close to like a university or some other draw where you're going to get, like for us, we've got University of Chicago, which is it's great. It's a great blessing for us because, even sometimes in the downtime, you'll have events going on there and you'll get some random bookings on that, or you get weddings. There's a great wedding venue in Three Oaks. So we thought about doing one there. Every town we go and we're like, oh, we could do an Airbnb here. And
Right.
But Three Oaks has got it's like a whiskey place. I can't remember the name of it, but they have this, and it's a wedding venue. They do like 3 or 4 weddings a night there. And
Yeah. So people are coming in for the wedding.
Weddings, yeah. And the girl at the restaurant, we ate there. She's like, oh, there's not enough places to stay here. So it's, we need more because it's a small town. There's not a lot of hotels. And I put an offer in on an old Victorian home there and someone else got it because they paid more. And they actually turned it into a B&B. And the guy walked me through it. I knocked on the door and I said, hey, I almost bought this. And oh man, they did a great job and they're killing it.
Yeah.
So, because they've got that wedding venue that keeps them busy. He said, we are busy all year round, even in January and February. So
where is it? Where is this?
Three Oaks, Michigan.
Oh, so that's Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Hey, let me jump in real quick here. Here's my buddy, Russ. Russ is the Chicago window guy, Lori. So whenever you need windows in any of your rehabs, this is the guy you want to call. This is my ticket to the Bears game. Can you believe that?
I always
About
need
to walk on the field, so hurry up. Hi, Laura. How are you guys? Nice to see
Hi.
you.
Russ, what's your website? How can people find you?
All real estate deals go through these guys.
No, your window deal.
I know. That's right. Absolutely.
The Chicago window guy. All over.
The best product at the best price, guaranteed.
Listen,
ChicagoWindowGuy.com.
I know this guy. Thanks, Lori. Great morning. Appreciate you guys. Have a great day. Carl,
Yeah, have fun at the game. Go Bears.
Go Bears. Are we done, Carl?
No, not quite. No, we got a few more
Okay,
minutes.
okay.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So are you guys thinking, so obviously you guys are thinking about branching out, but you haven't yet.
Well, so we had at the height of everything, we had 6 Airbnbs, and then COVID hit, and thank God the real estate market was good. So we sold one. We sold 2. We rented 2 on long-term leases. We moved into one because I moved out of the North Shore, moved back to the city because my daughter got accepted. I think I told you my daughter got accepted to Whitney Young, so that was cool. And then we have 1 left. So we sort of we shrunk.
So right now you're down to just one.
We're down to 1 Airbnb. Yeah, we still own the other 2 properties, but like I said, we put long-term leases in there.
Yeah. So do you have any plans to ramp up, or you just want to see what's happening in the next 6 months?
We're going to see what's happening. The couple that's in the coach house, they're here through next March, and then they just had a baby. They might buy a place. So we're going to wait and see what the market's doing before we make any, when they move out, we may crank it back up as an Airbnb, or we might just put another long-term tenant in there.
Yeah, because that's got, what is that, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, the coach house? It's pretty big.
Yeah, it's a 3-bedroom, 3-bath.
Wow.
With a
And so,
garage, and it's a great space.
yeah. So do you mind me asking what you get for that, like range wise?
In a long-term rental, we're getting $3,000 a month.
No, short term, like the Airbnb is.
Short term, we're getting it was ranging depending on the season. It was like between $250 and $350 a night.
That's not bad.
Peak season, we're getting $350 a night. And then, on the off season, we're getting more like $250. The thing that was weird about it though, I thought it was the best property we had. It's just cool. It's kind of built like a loft. It was an old carriage house that was converted. But it wasn't as popular as our other houses. And I don't really know why that is, because it's unique and the pictures look great.
Yeah, no, I've been there. I've been in it. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's a cool space. And
Yeah.
$350 a night. That's, if you got 5 or 6 people, that's like $50 a night. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing when people, we're charging $650 a night sometimes on these houses. And sometimes people say, oh, hey, it seems like a lot. But when you break it down on a per head basis, one of my houses sleeps 16, the other one sleeps like 20. That's crazy.
Right.
A lot of people. So we've had
Right.
volleyball teams, basketball teams. We had the Yale Gospel Choir. That's the thing that's fun. You get some really neat groups of people. And now that I'm in the city again, the best part about it, one of my favorite things about Airbnb that sort of like negates all the negative stuff is like meeting the people. And when I was living far away, I didn't get to meet the guests. And now like, I like meeting the guests. They're, you know, we don't get to meet everyone because, you know, you're busy and whatever, you're doing other stuff. But sometimes when you get to meet people and even have a cocktail with them or something, it's just neat.
Yeah.
There's some really lovely people that we met from all
Yeah,
over.
that's cool.
I love that part of it.
Kind of just an added bonus, right?
Yeah.
So for somebody besides myself, because I definitely want to get together with you and Derek and maybe have a cocktail, and we've been talking about coming down. We've got to do that, but I definitely want to explore a little bit more, do some research, and talk to you guys, because this is something I want to do. And for me, it's more about teaching my kids about the business, having places to go for us personally, and then building a little real estate for them, so that when they're in their 20s. They'll have a little bit of income. If I bought one for each of the kids, you know what I mean? It was throwing off a little bit of income.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just helpful when you're in your 20s, when you're getting started. So, but we'll definitely have to, we'll make plans the next week or two. We'll come down, we'll chat.
Yeah.
But,
sure.
any other advice? We're just about at 45 minutes. So any other advice or thoughts? I mean, how can people get a hold of you, or what's, if someone wanted to rent your space, I mean, what's, it's an open mic, so you can say whatever you want at this point.
Well, so we do have our website for our design build, which is realestategrowthpartners.com. That's the name of our kind of design build firm with Real Estate Growth Partners. It's pretty easy. I hang my license on the brokerage side. I'm with Fulton Grace. So you can literally Google my name, Lori Wyatt, and like, I'll come right up. So you can go to the website, but if you don't remember the website, just Google my name, Fulton Grace Realty or Real Estate Growth Partners, and it'll come up either way.
Okay, I put both those in there. I didn't put the real estate company. What is it?
It's Fulton Grace. I'm actually on I have a buddy, Ted Guinero, who's sort of like my big brother in real estate. And he invited me to be on his team right at the beginning of COVID, because he said he's got this great site and he's getting all these leads, but he didn't have a lot of people that were interested or knowledgeable about doing multifamilies. And that's kind of, so that's really all I've been doing with him, is helping his multifamily clients that, want to do BRRRR. They want to get in and they want to build, renovate, whatever, and repeat. And so I've been doing that with him, and it's been great.
Nice. Yeah, he sounds like an interesting guy to network with. So
oh yeah, he's
very
like,
cool.
He really nails the he knows about SEO, and he's really geeks out on that stuff and is good at it. And I started doing real estate a million years ago. You could like still run print ads, and now I feel like it's social media and websites, and it's a lot. And I'm good at sales, but that piece of it, I think you really have to have someone that knows what they're doing, and Ted's that guy. So
yeah, well, 100%. Mike and I are dealing with that right now. Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, we're certain generation or whatever, where we're just, it's not in our DNA, you know what I mean? And so we're looking and hiring. Mike and I are because Mike's got his training program in a book. I actually submitted 2 manuscripts, for my Think and Grow Rich stuff. And I don't know if I told you, but I got certified by the Napoleon Hill Foundation, so now I'm part of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, which is really great.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah,
I love
but neither
class, by the way. I love that class. I love your Napoleon Hill class that I took with you. It was great. And I actually just saw Zach the other night. We were talking about what a great experience it was.
Yeah. I'm going to start ramping that up, because one of the things I was waiting for was, it was a year-long certification program. So now I'm, like I said, I'm officially part of the foundation. I'm certified. So I'm really excited about that. But, Mike and I, we have, we both have a book, we both have a program, but we don't know what we're doing on social media. So we literally we talked to a PR company that I've done some work with. So that's definitely a thing. Well, listen, Lori, it's always great to chat with you, and I'm going to reach out to you guys later today. In the next week or two, I'll come down, maybe we'll make we'll get some food or whatever. And if nothing else, just hook up. And thanks for being on. I think next week we got Derek, or in a couple of weeks, your partner's gonna be on.
I think he's gonna talk about construction, all the fun stuff we've gone through with the construction side, and that's definitely going to be an interesting conversation, because
awesome. All right, and we'll send you a link. So I mean, if you want, you can put this out to your people and promote yourself. Mike does all that. So
great. Gotta love a little shameless self-promotion.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, very good, everybody.
Thanks.
Next week,
Talk to
yeah,
you
next
soon.
week we got Derek next week, but thanks everybody for being here.
All right,
Talk
have
to
a
you later,
good
Lori.
day. Bye.
Yep, bye-bye. And for everybody that's listening, thanks on Facebook, YouTube, Clubhouse. Mike usually does this. You know how to get in touch with Mike at mycoreintentions.com. And for me, it's Carl at yourfocusguy.com if you're interested in learning about my focus mastery method. And everybody have a great weekend.